I'm really glad to be facilitating today so I can ask some tough questions of our two panelists, Harry and Michael, who I'll introduce now. But it's always quite an interesting time taking a global brand like Huawei and SUSE and talking on a local African perspective. And when I was doing some research, the first thing that came up was Huawei banned in US, and then the very next one is Huawei is no longer banned in the US because the US can't do without the technology. And looking at SUSE and the partnership, this is not a new thing. It's been around for a while. And I think the momentum that's coming to pass is just beneficial from an African perspective. But I'm not here to make friends. I already am. So I'm joined with Harry Vandenberg, who's the SUSE Global Alliance and Sales Director. Harry speaks 5 languages. None of them are isiSotho or Xhosa or Zulu. He's been in sales since birth, and he's currently just outside of Rotterdam, which we offered to go and have the webinar there, but unfortunately the flights weren't going, so it didn't work for Michael and myself. Michael is VP for African Cloud Business of Huawei. He's got a passion for digital transformation over our continent, a long, successful IT career, and fair to say, Michael, that your voice will be heard. There's not a lot quiet about Michael, and that's why we get on so well. To all our attendees, thanks very much for giving up an hour of your time. We know how busy it is coming to the end of the calendar year, and if your diary is anything like mine, it's packed to the rafters. So we are going to dive straight into questions. We did have PowerPoints ready, and we're going to talk around the partnership and all the rest, but quite quickly it became apparent that there's more to talk around than to read off the slides. And the topic is about African transformation, and more on a micro level, South African transformation through digital enablement, and what Huawei and SUSE are doing in this partnership. And I really want to dive into that with Michael. And Michael, this is a big move in South Africa, but this SUSE and Huawei partnership isn't new, is it?
No, it certainly isn't new, and we have a long relationship. If you think about our business in the context of what we've been doing here in South Africa, we have massive investments in the private cloud business, right? And so that's where our partnership started. And when Huawei in 2018 opened up a massive hyperscale data center in line with our African agenda, we saw it fit to continue that partnership. And so you will see the massive assets and investments that we make, both on a people line as well as a financial line. And we continue that relationship with our partners in SUSE in taking open source. So as an example, today, when you look at the government cloud, all of that sits on our technology partnered with SUSE.
Sure. Harry, does this close alignment, SUSE's open source freedom for technology, everybody has access, is that endangering it in any way? Are you giving up your core principles to be closer to Huawei?
No, I mean, I think that's the bright thing about open source. In open source, everything is open. So you develop your code together, you develop your technology together, and everything is out in the open. So everybody can always see who you're working with, what you're doing for partners. So I think this transparency basically allows you to partner together without any criticism. And we have not received any criticism on our working with Huawei just because of this transparency.
Okay, so whilst we are aligning for scale and getting into scale, there's still the open transparency around the SUSE side. What does that mean for our customers here, Michael?
What we've decided to do, as I indicated, in 2018, we opened up a massive hyperscale data center. And that was in response to the calling to create more digital jobs, not just in South Africa, but on the South African continent. So what we try to do is respond to the need. And 4IR is a primary driver of how we are putting all our effort behind certainly the South African government and our need to create more jobs on the African continent. Because there is nothing better than Africans solving African problems with technology. And so that is what we seek to do. Now, it's easy to say that, but we also have to think about how do we enable more people to play? And so as part of standing up this environment, we have a couple of unique offerings that we're taking to market. And I'm not sure if I can share that with you guys today if we have time, but certainly in the context of investment in building capability, we're making some significant investments there. And so today, if partners want to partner with Huawei and SUSE, we make all of that training available in South Africa at Huawei's cost, right? Both for our customers as well as our partners, right? But that's not enough, Daniel. When I speak to customers and partners, they're saying we need to level the playing field a bit more. So what we then do is at Huawei, we also pay for every one of those engineers for customers and partners to certify on the Huawei cloud, right? And certainly these investments aren't insignificant investments when you start thinking about building up SMME and those kind of businesses.
That's excellent. So are you trying to flood the market with people who are proficient with Huawei and SUSE technologies?
Yes and no. What we are trying to do is, what we believe is, when you look at the numbers, and last night I looked at the latest numbers, we're probably 59.3 million people in this country, right? And that's great. But when you look at the bigger opportunity for us as Africans is the African continent has a little shy of 1 billion people, right? So what we're certainly trying to do is, our view is that this new digital economy has massive opportunities for all of us, not just in this country, but across the African continent. And so what we're seeking to do is to give more people an opportunity to have a seat at the table, is what we're saying. And we think it's a significant investment.
That's excellent. Harry, have you seen how this has impacted customers in your regions? Are there benefits that are coming through that we can expect upstream from this partnership and the training that Huawei is throwing in, kind of aligning to SUSE's mentality and ethos?
Yeah, I think when you talk about technology, I mean, in the end, it's all knowledge. It's knowledge, how you develop things, how you implement things. So I think knowledge is a key factor in making the joint technology a success, whether that is in Africa or elsewhere in the world. And that's something we've been investing in a lot, both at the, let's say, what I call the headquarter levels, where our engineers and Huawei engineers are developing like very smart technology together that you can roll out, but also furthermore downstream, where you have like the local partners that are getting the knowledge of the joint products. And when you look at, when you're an IT partner and you look at partner.suse.com, you will see a ton of knowledge around not only SUSE technology, but you will also find knowledge around the combined technology of Huawei and SUSE. So we've been investing a lot in spreading that knowledge around the world.
Okay. I think there is a strategic discussion that's happening almost on an enterprise level. And Michael, you keep bringing us back into, not to forget the tactical side. You know, people need the enterprise transformation projects, but they actually need food on the table and they have to be able to play in this digital environment. Is there an example of what you're doing from a numbers perspective in South Africa and just how much training you've given over the last year?
So that's a good question. And generally, we don't share those kind of numbers. So I'll speak more broadly. If I look at just this year alone, we've probably trained over the 2,000 mark that we've trained in this country, right? Wow. And our training takes various aspects. So with your permission, I'll maybe talk about that and I'll talk about certification. So our training is aimed directly at both our partner network as well as our customers, right? So for all customers currently doing work with us, we provide the training for them as well as certification because we believe in leaving all IP with our customers, right? And that's the first piece that we're doing. And then similarly, we try and tie partners up alongside that. Now, that's great. What we've also done is we have to give our young people an opportunity to be more employable. So what we've done with universities as an example, at university level, we've taken all of our curriculum and we've now embedded it either in the current courses they have or when these young people have breaks during their off time or breaks, universities are now offering it as additional courses to make them even more employable when they leave the university. So we certainly think about it a lot broader than just the how can Huawei make money out of this by throwing money at customers and partners. We think a lot wider than that. And certainly for the young people that we sponsor in all universities that either do engineering or computer science, we then embed some of that stuff there as well to make them even more employable. Yeah.
So that teaching skills, teach a man to fish and you'll never have to feed him, that sort of idea. Do you have significant training centers at the moment? Because where do folk access them?
So this is what we do here at Huawei, and I'll talk about the pre-COVID world and the post-COVID world. So in the pre-COVID world, what we what we used to do was we used to fly
Harry into town,
trainers.
and then we could have a beer with him, but no longer. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So we used to do that. You're right. You're quite right. I like the Heinekens they have out in Amsterdam. So and then have intense 1 week or 2 week training here, followed up by certification. Now what we've done is almost every 2 or 3 weeks, we have an online training course, and they probably filled up as soon as we make the link available. In fact, we started training 2 days ago. And if there's anybody that'd like to join the training, we can certainly make that link available after this course, because we still have 2 or 3 more days left of that, and we'll make vouchers available for that. So certainly we are delivering it in many different ways. Many of our customers, however, are asking us to go back to the old way, but we think we'll go back to what we call this blended way of learning, where we'll have in classroom as well as online. And we think that's the new world that we live in when we talk about enablement.
Okay. And that's on a tactical level. I want to get to the enterprise layer. People get nervous when you get big players like this talking about partnerships, and they think, whoa, there comes lock-in. Harry, what do you think is the benefit of open source to Africa and specifically South African customers?
Well, when I look at SUSE, we've always called ourselves like the open source company. And the double open, what we mean by that is that we are open to working with everyone. So we're never trying to lock in a customer into a specific solution stack. If the customer wants to use technology of SUSE, but for other parts, they want to use technology of our competitors, we're basically supporting that. And I think that's another beauty of open source. What I like most about open source is like everyone can be a part of it and contribute to it. I mean, when you look at when a big, probably US technology invents some technology, it's kind of a one-way street. It gets rolled out over the customers and you can implement it or use it. But with open source, yeah, you can actually be part of it. If you're a smart team of engineers in a small company in South Africa or elsewhere in Africa, you can be a contributor to SUSE or to one of the thousands of other open source projects that are there. So you can not only benefit from the technology, but you can also influence and contribute to the technology. And I think that's the beauty of open source. It's not owned by one big single company that rolls it out to you, but it's basically owned by the world. It's owned by all of us, and everybody can be a part of it.
So when we're talking about this partnership and how it's benefiting customers in South Africa and companies, how are they going to directly benefit, given the state of the economy, where they are? People have got deep pockets and very short arms at the moment. Is there any financial benefit that should be coming when considering a technology change or expansion by considering SUSE and Huawei?
I think what we have seen, that was something that was already going on before the COVID period, that technologies were being transferred to cloud and more functionality people were using from clouds. We've seen this accelerate during the last 6 months, that people are looking for that flexibility because, as you mentioned, the arms are short and the pockets are deep. So people are not willing to or not able to do large upfront investments. And then cloud is actually the business model where you can pay as you go and where you can pay for what you actually need and use in this moment in time. So I think that's kind of a general benefit of cloud. I think one of the specifics you see in our partnership is that we offer customers flexibility because we respect that customers have been investing already into our technology. So they might have already SUSE subscriptions with validity for a few more years. And what we allow them to do is, as soon as they start working with Huawei in the cloud, they can bring those subscriptions to that cloud. So in addition to what they buy or what they need on a consumption basis, which is new, they can use the investments they've already done and can bring that own subscriptions to the cloud solutions. And I think that's the flexibility that customers are looking for in these days where, investments are a bit more difficult than they probably were 1 year ago.
Michael, I'd like you to carry on that one, but is my data going to China and Is it in any danger at the moment?
Let me supplement what Harry said, and then I'll speak to you about your data. But your data is safe. I agree with Harry when it comes to choice. Many of the projects, and I'll share two examples. We have two projects we're working on right now where customers already have investments in SUSE. And so there, instead of buying net new SUSE licenses, they just bring their own licenses, right? But where customers need the bursting capability, they also have the option of using licenses in the Huawei cloud, and they can pay as they consume that license. So that's the first value that we have as part of this partnership. The second value that we have of this partnership is at a technical level where many customers are trying to move, as an example, their SAP workloads to our cloud, right? And so they do work very closely with us. But sometimes when we run into challenges at the operating system, we don't make it the customer's problem. Through our partnership, we talk directly to Harry and his entire team at SUSE that constantly support us to make sure that the customer gets the best experience. So it doesn't become a Huawei problem or a SUSE problem, but we solve the customer's challenge. So that's, I just wanted to round off what Harry said there, because those are some of the feedback we're getting from customers saying, we like this engagement, this adds value. Why didn't you tell us sooner about this? And that's why I wanted to share it. Let me talk about the interesting one when we talk about data. And I want to be very, very clear on this one. The reason why we made a significant investment is around two areas: data residency and data sovereignty. So we've built this massive cloud here to make sure that all data stays here and that only you have access to data. Now, it's gone so well that we've opened up a second availability zone to make sure that even failover stays here. So certainly customers are responding really well. And as a result of that, we are rewarding them with more assets to use at a better price point. So as an example, some of our customers gave us feedback, and now many customers moving to us are saving up to 30% by moving away from the current providers onto our cloud because of the significant cost savings that we've shown them. And if we have time, I'll share with you how we get to those cost savings.
Okay, I think we are going to make time for that, because what we said in preparation is that there's a couple of folk who we do calls with that keep their jackets very closed. Whereas, Michael, you're like a flasher on a Sunday. You open, Bell, and I think our attendees would appreciate that. Having a look under the hood is something that we want, and that's what these discussions are about. I've got a question from Himu Chunelil. I apologize for massacring your surname. I'll learn it. A question for both of you. Have you seen an uptick in home or residential solutions? And typically, what are these?
I'll share with you what we see in the market. We see an uptake, not just on home and residential, but on that SMB, SMME space. And the reason why we're seeing that happen is that they're wanting to solve real problems. I'll give you a typical example of how, using our platform with SUSE, we've managed to solve problems. So one of the partners came to us and said, we have this challenge that in our municipality, every time somebody goes into a building, we have to take all these telephone numbers, right? But if there's an incident, somebody has to call every single one of these people. Now, to sit on the phone and call is not practical. How can Huawei help us? So what we did is we enabled two services to solve for this problem. We enabled the bot service, and it's just a robot, but we made the robot very smart. We basically democratized it. So you can give us a set of questions with a set of telephone numbers. We dump it into the robot, and the robot will phone every single one of those numbers and ask them those questions that's on there. And as an example, in this case, where they said, if somebody's displaying any symptoms, when they answer yes, we can hot connect that call to a healthcare provider in that municipality to help them.
Harry, do you want to carry on with that answer? Are you seeing an uptick in home solutions?
Yeah, we're absolutely seeing that, but we're seeing that in different areas. We see that on one side that companies have like a more dispersed infrastructure, so everything is like less central. So we saw that more and more people were looking at like our SUSE Manager solutions that help you kind of manage this very dispersed environment. But we saw it also in like development areas that where in the past where you were looking at like new solutions, you were going to test that in your central lab, which you have in your company. And now people had the need to do this at home. So they were looking at trying out new technologies at home. So one of the things we did with our Kubernetes, so a container type of solution, we kind of gave it out for free for developers to try it out for like months to set up new technology and do it on a small scale. So do it at home instead of at the lab. So we definitely see that same pattern.
Excellent. Michael, I've got an even better question, a series of questions for you from Rodney Koch, which I think is pretty pertinent for our continent. So this is Rodney Koch. How are you going to address the lack of broadband? Many countries in Africa are below the 20% critical mass in order to achieve improved efficiencies. There's a serious high demand for wireless connectivity. And then the second question is, how and what are you doing to intensely share underused spectrum bands?
Yeah, so very quickly, I'll share with you. It's no secret that Huawei hold more patents than anyone when it comes to the 5G technology. So we certainly accelerating the adoption and rollout of 5G. You will see it significantly increase in the South African market with Rain now and many of the other carrier providers. So that's the first thing we're doing for this country. Certainly in Africa, you would know that we have massive presence, not only in Kenya, Nigeria, Tanzania, but we continue to roll out that. And so on the cloud side, we do even more in that space. And so we have technology called points of presence or POP sites. We're massively rolling that out and connecting it with some of our consumer services like 5G to get connectivity. It certainly is a challenge, but we are, through our partners, responding really well to that. And we have some initiatives I can't speak about right now with government to even accelerate that.
Excellent. And then the last one from Rodney, which was TVWS pilot projects. Are you considering any of those?
So TV white spaces is an interesting technology because really what it does is it uses the free spectrum on the signal for TVs to broadcast and distribute connectivity through that technology. We think it's a good technology and capability, but we certainly think that we can achieve much more with 5G in this country. So we do know that one of our competitors is doing some stuff in that space, but we think 5G, as it becomes more pervasive, will allow us better access, further access into the market. Yeah.
If you get over the scare tactics that people are saying it gives you coronavirus and takes away your firstborn children. Harry, did you want to add? I saw you were nodding there as well about TV white space.
Well, I can only confirm, I mean, we're absolutely not a player in the field of bandwidth or communication as SUSE, but we're working very closely with Huawei on 5G technology, just as we've always done on 4G technology. So yeah, we basically depend on partners here, and I think Huawei is one of our best partners when it comes to 5G technology.
Excellent. We've got another question from Sean Kaleski, who's, do Huawei and SUSE expect any challenges coming up with implementation of POPIA next year? And I think it's more around the corner than that. And how are you planning on overcoming this, Michael?
We certainly have been working long and hard on that, and so we're certainly ready for that in the context of the global presence that we have. POPIA, you would know, is not new. GDPR actually precedes that, and so when we conform to those standards globally, we conform to some of what the POPIA requirements. We are comfortable that we meet every single one of them. In fact, our statement is within 30 days of government making the announcement, we would be POPIA ready, and we certainly have reached that. And for customers that want to understand more from both a SUSE perspective and our perspective, we could go over to huawei.com/compliance, and every single one of our certificates are available for download and for interrogation or inspection. Certainly, we are doing quite a bit with government, and they're already running massive projects with us, and they are comfortable. And this is born out of the fact that the government cloud today runs on Huawei technology as well.
Harry, you've obviously done GDPR and all the rest in your regions. So you guys have passed this one. Do you know the local POPIA changes, and how ready is SUSE in South Africa for that?
Yeah, I think as SUSE, we're ready for that. I mean, we're a European headquartered company. So I think GDPR has been one of the strictest legislations in this area. So yeah, we've been able to in Europe, and I think we're absolutely ready now. So I think our statement can be that this is the basic to roll out every demand that's coming from governments all around the world. I mean, we've practiced GDPR, and now we're ready for the rest.
So you've practiced GDPR, and we can implement POPIA. We don't have to practice anymore. Okay, brilliant.
We don't have to go to the learning cycle again.
I've got a question from Derek, and I want to sit in the seat of the CIO for this, or the financial director has just been motivating to move to cloud and they've moved to one of the competitors. And then someone says, I want to move to Huawei cloud. How difficult is it to move from AWS to Huawei? And should I be scared as the CIO?
So I'll say this to you, right? There are two reasons why customers are moving to Huawei. The first reason is probably most likely, and what we see in the market is for 90 to 95% of the workloads, Huawei is probably 25 to 30% more cost effective, right? So that's a big reason why CFOs and CEOs are talking to us, is to help with the cost reduction in the difficult time that they are. The second reason people are moving to our cloud is because of the performance improvement that you see. And people may think performance is not important, but when you run workloads like SAP and Oracle and all of those, 15 to 20% performance improvement is massive for their businesses, right? And we're able to achieve that because, as you know, Daniel, we don't only manufacture the chip, we put it in all our own servers, storage, and computing equipment. And so we obviously have optimized for the best experience on the Huawei cloud. So how do we help customers move? We have a unique service called SMS, Server Migration Service, that helps customers using this capability at no cost to them to move their workloads.
So you're saying if I'm running an AWS and I need to migrate, we're going to do that migration and it's not going to cost you anything?
100%. So we leverage what we call the SMS service, server migration service, but we do a couple of things for our customers. Okay. And this is why we see customers move to our platform. We understand what the customer's problem is, and then we make Huawei Cloud subscription available at our cost, because we think the proof of the pudding is in the eating, right? So we give them a cloud subscription, we make the service available, and then we embed our engineers or our solution architects with our customers, and then move the workload. And only when the customer has value, sees value, and knows that this works, we then move into a commercial arrangement. And this is really what CEOs, CFOs, CIOs are liking, because we are mitigating the risk in the migration.
Harry, do you meet that as well if we're following that migration? Is there cost to customers for SUSE?
I think there's the big advantage that Huawei has with the cloud, and that's we already have a lot of experience together working on-prem. I mean, Michael mentioned SAP, and I think SAP is an area where a lot of customers are thinking about bringing their workload to the cloud because they're moving to HANA, which is the next generation of SAP, and this transformational moment makes them think about cloud. Well, with Huawei, we have a lot of customers already using SUSE SAP on Huawei technology. So it's basically an experience we can leverage when they're moving to the cloud. And I think that brings certainty, apart from like the financial business, it brings out the certainty that it's a less risky migration because you do have that experience already in the on-prem situation.
Isn't SUSE the de facto SAP standard on-prem? I thought they were. Never mind.
Yeah,
I'm just having a
look at SAP HANA, then almost everything is SUSE. I think we have around a 90% market share. What I think is also important in that area, when you look at SAP, they have like a big campus in Germany where the developers are. But what they do at this campus, they also have what they call the partner ports, where the technology partners are also working and developing. Well, Huawei has a partner port, SUSE has a partner port. So at the SAP area, the three of us are working together in solving problems. And I think that's taken away a lot of the risks that CIOs and CFOs might see in any transformation.
Okay. Tony Hector has asked a question on the chat, which is specifically for you, Michael. Government's gazetting its 4IR blueprint. What role will Huawei be fulfilling going forward?
What we're doing is this. For government, the GPCE, Government Private Cloud Ecosystem, that's been managed by CETA, that is all built on Huawei technology. And so we've invested significantly, and we continue to invest significantly. We certainly are doing a number of things in the background in the context of 4IR. You would have seen that today, the technology that our president uses to speak to the inner council is all built on our capability. Now, if we extend that and think about in the context of 4IR and what we're doing with NMISA and all of those folks, we continue to work more with them. So certainly keep your ears and eyes open. We'll make more announcements as the time comes available, but we certainly are a key partner in that.
Hemu, over to you. You wanted a question?
this country always has a lack of skills, all right? So with a partnership, SUSE as well as Huawei, how are you guys addressing that skill set or lack of skills in the marketplace so we can grow our economy?
So Huawei provide for our customers and partners training at our cost. It's not free, but we pay for that training. It's a full 5-day certified course, and we provide that training. And then for our customers and partners, we go a step further by also paying for the exam to make sure that our customers end up certified at the end of the journey, to give our customers confidence that they hold all the requisite skills to help them on their cloud journey. And then more importantly, for the young people, we also pair them up with some of our SMMEs and some of our bigger customers looking for new engineers. So we certainly do have a program around that. And if you're really interested in that, I'm happy to engage and connect with you on LinkedIn to share with you broader of what we're doing.
Michael, why don't you smash that link into the chat, please, just so everyone can access that. If you've got it on hand, I have asked the team as well. We've got some very interesting questions piling up. Yo asked a question, there's a statement, Huawei released a white paper on IP, warns against politicization of IP disputes. What is your co-creation strategy between Huawei, SUSE, and Africa? Is there a co-creation strategy for Africa?
So here's our view on this, right? We believe in ecosystems as Huawei, and it's no secret some of the challenges we face with our friend on the other side of the planet. We believe in ecosystems, and we think that once this matter is resolved, we want to continue our partnerships with the likes of Google and Microsoft and. So that is our intended statement, and I think our chairman, our president, Mr. Ren, is very clear about that, right? And so when it comes to IP and co-creation, we certainly, as an example, in 5G are the market leaders, and we continue to partner with people to use the capability that we've built because we're already on to the next big thing, right? So that's the first thing. In the context of working with SUSE, we certainly work very closely with SUSE in this country. Both Magda and the entire team and my team collaborate extensively. Can we do more with our partners and customers? Absolutely, right? And so we certainly are building up a bigger and bigger community. But what we want to do is make sure that the community owns this. So maybe there's an opportunity for us to do a bit more in co-creation, certainly in the form of communities. And if that's something that this panel thinks that we should seriously accelerate, then you have my commitment as well as my colleagues' commitment, both Harry and Magda, to accelerate the community, because we think community is really where the strength lies, where we empower the community and give them access to all of this, because really that's where problems get solved.
I very seldom disagree with you, Michael, but I think you skirted the question, or maybe I didn't ask it correctly. I understand what you're doing enterprise-wide. We want to see the co-creation where we're getting into Khayelitsha. We've got a development center. We're getting great African brains creating those solutions. And I'd love to understand what your strategy is, how you're going to harness. I mean, if you go to Kenya and you go to the ideation hubs there, you know, there are African folk creating African solutions that are crossing the continent. What's your strategy for that? And maybe, Harry, we can go to you for a little bit if you've got anything, because I know Michael's got a lot on that.
So very quickly on my side. So we do have a program. It's called Seeds for Africa. We have lots of things. So we have a program called Seeds for Africa, and we do have the program here, and it's running in Kenya, as you indicated as well. In fact, a lot of our kids, we take over to Shenzhen at our corporate head office through the Seeds for Africa program. With your permission, I'll just quickly post the 5 or 6 programs we have running here at Huawei that people can engage us
in
on.
The chat. I love that. I've got quite a simple question, which Callan has asked, but it's so big. I think Exchange is probably one of the core products at the moment during COVID. Many of our clients use Microsoft Exchange. Is your cloud platform able to host this? Is it compatible? If not, do you have a similar service? Great question, Callan. Are you allowed to host Exchange?
Oh, so, and I have to declare this up front, some of the colleagues who know me when I used to be at Microsoft, I was there for many years. So I don't think Microsoft will take likely to you installing Exchange on our platform. They'd like you to use Office 365, but certainly, yes, Our platform does support that. You have all the flavors of Microsoft's Windows Server, all the supported platforms, obviously 2016 and above. It's all on the platform, and we certainly support it. We have many different flavors, all the way from IO intense virtual machines to memory intense virtual machines to help you with something like that. We do also have options. Some customers choose to re-platform to a different emailing technology for whatever reason, and we certainly have partners that have those solutions on our platform. So yes, we do kind of what Microsoft does, but we do a lot more than that. Happy to engage with you and share with you our differentiation.
Harry, this is a question that's come through again from Rodney, and I really like the way he's framed this. There's no dispute it'll take a concerted effort across industries and sectors to drive digital investment in Africa. There's a serious lack of regulatory guidelines amongst their top 3 challenges to implementing AI/robotics/automation/ I just added that in. How are you assisting/bullying African governments in developing sound digital policies and stable, harmonized regulatory environments? In summary, Harry, how active are you, SUSE, Huawei, in assisting governments and organizations to transform digitally in supporting digital policy development? So what are you doing to assist governments to leapfrog and to get the right policies in place to enable digital evolution?
I think I have to be a little bit modest here. I mean, when you look at SUSE, we're let's say, relative small software company. We're part of a huge, large open source environment. But I think, to be honest, that we're not a company that's in a position to be at the government level discussing policies with them. We're a technology company, and we are very much an open technology company. And I think that open source transparency is a very important principle also when it comes to government policies. But yeah, we're not the size of the company that's talking to the governments on a high level and directing them in certain directions. So I think we have to be a little bit modest here.
So let me look at the dragon in the corner. Michael?
So let me share with you what we're doing, right? We are very fortunate, and some people may know Christo Abrams, who used to be at the State Information Technology Agency. And Christo is part of the massive team that we have collaborating, not just in South Africa with our government, but all the way up to Nigeria, where they work directly with governments, helping formulate policy and digital policy, as an example. In fact, Botswana, we just finished a massive piece of work. And so we certainly have taken some key talent in this country. We've added it to the Huawei family of portfolio, and we've built those assets out. And so we're doing quite a bit. Happy to share with you or even connect you with Christo, who is the owner of that business area in Huawei that provides strategy for governments in the context of digital. Yes.
I think it would be a worth discussion where technology partners are influencing government on the continent. And unfortunately, I don't think we're bathing ourselves in glory. If you look at some of the decisions that are being taken at the moment and have been taken, and if we look at from the lowest level of municipalities through to governments, through whereas there are some bastions of absolute brilliance going on, I think there's some nefarious software dealers out there that should be held accountable. Just throwing it in. Another question. SUSE's core products is Linux. What do you think is the next thing for SUSE and open source beyond this, Harry?
Linux is definitely our core product, and Linux and everything that comes around is still a large part of our business. But we see a lot of development, operation integration, and we think everything about DevOps is kind of the next step in transformation, where companies want to transform faster and respond faster to changes that are going on. And we have invested a lot in container technology. You might have heard of Kubernetes, which is kind of the standard around container technology that's being respected all over the world. And this summer we have announced the acquisition of a large company called Rancher, which is the largest Kubernetes open source service company. And we hope to complete that acquisition next month. And yeah, we're really looking forward to bringing in a lot of container knowledge and investing a lot in this kind of next wave of automation. So Kubernetes, containers, for us, that's really the next thing in DevOps.
I've seen DBAs with Linux tattoos. I don't think there is a next thing from Linux. Do you know, it's just ingrained into everyone's culture. It's amazing. Michael, what happens to my existing investment? We've mentioned a couple of competitors. We've got workloads with a couple of other folk. Do I have to toss this all out in order to work with you?
Absolutely not, right? That is the last thing that we are going to advocate. And I'm the leader of the cloud business. I'll tell you this straight out, right, Daniel, that cloud is not always the answer for everything, and cloud is not always the cheapest option, right? So let's start there. It's horses for courses and where it makes sense. And that's why it's so important that when you engage with us, we engage in the right way. We understand the business problem. We put some of our resources with your resources to hold their hand to really understand if it solves the problem, and only then move to a commercial arrangement is why we've taken that approach to solving customers' problems. The second thing, and to answer your question more specifically, is what we do here at Huawei is that when we think customers' big problems with our technology, we can really solve problems earnestly. And what we want to do is invest as far as we can. And that's why we make some of the cloud credits and training available as well to help them achieve those objectives.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So we don't have to toss everything out. We can work in a cohabitation environment. Multi-cloud strategy is okay with you. On-prem's okay with you. SUSE with others is okay with you. That's brilliant to know. So it's not an or decision. It can be an and decision that we can go into. So people can dip their toe in the water as well.
Yeah, I'll give you an example of that. We have a customer today who's running a Sun Solaris system, and they have SAP on that system, right? They don't want to buy more Sun, but they do want to have a highly available SAP environment. So in that case, they're holding on to that current asset, sweating that asset. But for the DR and their backup capability, they are now building that out in the public cloud, right? And where they have spare licenses, like they have in this case, they are just consuming those spare licenses in the cloud. And only when they invoke a DR will they then use additional licenses. And instead of buying net new licenses, they just use a subscription-based license and pay for what they use. So certainly we're seeing that use case, and that is probably 90% of the use cases. There are, however, many customers that have reached the end of life on some of their equipment, and they are then making a decision to switch off that asset because they've seen through the value of that asset. Now, I want to say this thing. There are some customers that are in a very difficult position where they have a cloud contract and they have 2 months or 3 months or 4 months left of that contract, but they need to introduce savings immediately. For those customers, and it's only available to the people on this call, right? I hope we're not recording it and sharing it out of it. For the people on this call that may be in a situation like that, we are in a position where we are able to absorb some of that cost. So instead of paying us for the next 3 months, we'll absorb that cost and we'll move you immediately without having to pay us, right? So you can move off that platform from a competitor onto our cloud. Reach out to me, reach out to us if you have some of those scenarios where you need to have significant cost reduction and you need to move very quickly, but you have some or term left on your old contract on current cloud providers. We have interesting ways of not increasing your cost, moving you over to us and seeing some cost savings almost instantly.
Come on. You did promise us something else. I've got a question for Harry. Where's SUSE in terms of big data? Harry, you guys don't play in that area, do you?
Oh, we're definitely playing there when it comes to big data and AI, and it's one of the areas where we are innovating, and it comes from multiple areas. I mean, it comes from AI, machine learning technologies that we run on SUSE. It comes from, I mentioned earlier, the Kubernetes to container technologies. Well, a lot of big data analysis, I mean, the programs you use, you containerize them. You don't build one like big solution, but you containerize it and make it into multiple type of solutions. And another area where we play a role, but also where we play a nice role together with Huawei, is when it comes to the storage for big data analysis, where we have SUSE Enterprise Storage running on Huawei servers, which their own technology in disk, which makes it a very kind of fast platform to support big loads of big data. So we're definitely playing a role there.
Excellent. And the partnership between Huawei and SUSE, meaning you can spin up environments quite quickly. So rolling out IoT projects can happen not over years, in a shorter space of time.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 5 minutes left. And when we were in preparation for this session, Michael, you said for our attendees, we're going to be looking at a cost reduction for a certain percentage, including cloud training and a voucher. Am I allowed to read that off pat? And can you explain what that means? So if there's someone...
You're killing my business.
If there's anyone on an active project at the moment and you're looking for a partner to walk with you, or if you're a partner who is helping a customer migrate workloads into the cloud, Michael has offered a 25% reduction, and including both Huawei cloud training as well as a $300 voucher for the exam. Coming to the end of the year and people wanting to show results, I think that email, which is in the chat, should be on a hot list right now. What does that mean for someone, Mike?
Yeah, so thanks, Daniel. You know, as a colored guy, I've got a real nice job, and you're about to let me lose my job. So anyway, that's a different discussion, right? So what are we saying? What are we saying to the folks on this room? Because we want to add meaningful value. So there's a couple of things that we want to position with our partners, SUSE, on this call today. If there are any projects that you are wanting to start and you are running into some challenges in the context of paying for cloud credits, at Huawei, we want to make the platform available for you. So if you share with us and with SUSE what your business problem is that you're trying to solve, we're going to do a couple of things for you. We'll not only make a cloud subscription available for you, we'll also make one of our engineers available for you. And by extension, he'll be in contact with the SUSE engineer when it's a SUSE-specific program, right? So we're going to give you our commitment that we'll work together as a team on that. That's the first thing we're going to do. Now, I'm mindful that cloud is very new to many people. So as an extension of that offer, I am prepared to put on the table, if you engage with us, we will make the training available for you. And if you want to get certification, I'll make that available for you as well. So that's the first piece that we want to share with you, and you can hold me up. I'm sure this is recorded. We can have a conversation about that. Now, for our current customers that potentially need to reduce cost very quickly, that are under significant cost pressure and that have to make a decision whether I use cloud or pay salaries, we want to say we are here to support you, right? And we absolutely want you to pay salaries and not worry about a cloud bill. If you today are running cloud, we're offering you to engage with us. Let us have a look at what your cloud spend is, and we can almost certainly commit today that we'll see a cost saving by 25 to 30%, where we can slash that bill down, giving you the same value that you have or potentially even better. So please do engage with us. It's something we want to put on the table to help our customers, specifically those who are struggling, that have to make big decisions like paying a month-end bill versus paying the cloud subscription.
Thank you very much for that. Harry, do you want to summarize what this partnership means for you going forward for this region, for specifically for partners and customers, and just a summary of the day for you? And then we're going to go over to Michael because Elders needs the last word.
Well, yeah. Well, I think the good thing about our partnership, it's a partnership that kind of starts on the enterprise level, where we make sure that our technologies, Huawei, SUSE technology, are working perfect together and are perfectly supported by all the expertise you need wherever you are in the world. And then the next step, it translates to our local teams working together, me working with Michael, but also Magda and others in our South African office to make sure we translate it locally to both partners and customers. And I think that mix of working together on the enterprise level and working together on the local level is in the end what benefits both customers and partners.
Thank you so much. Michael, over to you in summary.
Yeah. Thank you. From my side, I want to say this. As a South African first working for a Chinese multinational, I'm not confused around what's important for us as a nation. I want to engage with you through our partnership with SUSE to add meaningful value. And that meaningful value starts with us demonstrating that we are in a partnership. The partnership means that if you want to consume cloud, please engage with us. We will make cloud available for you. If you don't have the skill, we will make the training available for you. And if you're currently using cloud and you need to reduce your spend, we will come to the table and help you reduce that cost significantly, because we don't take your spend for granted here at Huawei.
Thank you. I think for you partners who are on the call and for you customers, I would really take Michael up on that offer. I've worked with a lot of executives from the big OEMs, and none have opened their doors as readily as Huawei has. This seems to be a very powerful partnership that SUSE and Huawei are driving through South Africa. And if you have ambitions to expand rapidly, I think spending some time here would be a good thing. From my side, thank you very much for the opportunity, for Huawei and SUSE for allowing us to have this call. Have a wonderful Tuesday and talk to strangers. You never know who you'll meet.